Hi everybody, here is the strategy guide. It's a video in 2 parts and I'd like you to go through it please mindfully, and then we can discuss anything you're not sure of over WhatsApp. Voice notes are good. Let's get cracking. So we decided that we would work towards higher achievement at Courtney House. And really the big difference is teacher-centered learning, teaching in which passive learning takes place. Neurons are seldom connected. It's shallow processing versus active learning, where you're making neural networks, neural pathways, which is deep processing. And for that to work, the learner has to be fully engaged in active learning. So just looking at this comparative guided note, very important here are our words. The hippocampi does not store meaningless words. Remember the grim and gruesome gorge of Garpon. It's not going to store words it doesn't understand. So your word consciousness is probably your most critical aspect in any planning for deep processing. Okay, and then we're going to look at your 11 design elements per unit. Whether these are on Zoom, Edmodo, in the classroom, you have to have these 11 design elements. Your context, where you bridge new work to old knowledge, your clear and concise objective based on Bloom's, selecting your strategy for declarative or procedural knowledge, your word consciousness, remember the hippocampi, your fundamental focus presentation, your guided notes, active learning tasks and activities, a self-regulation activity for the students, the learners to think, learning to think and thinking to learn, retrieval, probe for gaps, questions, quizzes, tasks, activities, again based on Bloom's, rehearsal activities with interleafing of previous work, assessment for learning. And remember, our assessment for learning informs our lesson design and introduction of strategies to augment our teaching so that we can enhance the learning. Quickly to go through the worksheets. Your topic, very important. Name, grade, unit, all of those things are not important for the top of the page. They must go at the bottom. Your content, your activity space or dual coding space in the middle of the worksheet, and then a summary space at the bottom. You don't need to have the guidelines on your worksheet. Guidelines are not necessary. They're imaginary. There are 2 examples. You can pause if you want to and check it out. Just a reminder about guided notes that are designed specifically to organize information for note making, and they must guide your learner as your fundamental focus presentation plays. Okay, here we have basically our content of the strategy guide for higher academic achievement. Okay, mastery strategies, the basic 3-strand strategy for declarative knowledge, designed for the introduction of new content, and the basic direct instruction strategy for procedural knowledge, designed for the introduction of new strategies, methods, steps, procedures, in order for a skill to be formed. And then your Chile strategy for procedural and declarative knowledge designed for practice and application, and assessment for learning, not for new knowledge. Okay, so basically what I've done here is I've got the basic 3-strand strategy. Then I've just reiterated what it's designed for. I've got your higher achievement goals and your academic literacy skills related to this strategy. And then your understanding by design. Again, very important. What levels of understanding are you developing using this strategy? Those are the elements of the 3-strand lesson strategy, what you must have in that strategy. Okay, then we've got the basic direct instruction for procedural knowledge. This strategy is used when you're teaching the how-to, where you model, you scaffold, you use questioning and assessment, like learning to ride a bike. Again, I've got in your higher achievement goals, your academic literacy skills, and what this strategy is designed for. Next, the understanding, the levels of understanding. So you can see applications very high, whereas empathy and interpretation are low. And then here you've got your elements that must be present for a basic direction instruction strategy. Now, Chile strategy for procedural and declarative knowledge, not for new learning. And you'll see the academic literacy skills, your higher achievement goals, your understanding by design. So which levels of understanding are you focusing on here? Application is very high, and so is self-regulation. This strategy must contain some sort of regulation, self-regulatory activity, pre and post cognitive wrappers, because the learners are choosing their own work. They've got to think about why they've chosen it and what to do with that choice. Then we've got our understanding strategies, which are very much to do with practice and application, except for your concept attainment strategy. That can be used for new content. And if we look at that, our basic compare and contrast strategy. And please remember, with contrasting and comparing strategies, you're actually increasing academic performance by 40%, according to cognitive psychologists. Your higher achievement goals, your academic literacy skills are included. There's your levels of understanding. So which levels of understanding are you really allowing to develop using this strategy? And then these are your elements that you need to have for the basic compare and contrast strategy. 4 phases, so on and so forth. And then I've just put in some comparative guided notes. There's so many different ways of doing the comparative guided notes, so please try to use as many as possible through time. Our concept attainment strategy finds the rule of yes examples and no examples. So here we've got, again, designed for introduction of new content, higher achievement goals, and academic literacy skills are included, and there are your levels of understanding for this strategy. Next, we've got the different elements that you need to have present, and we can see there that a comparative guided note that you need, and Zoom is by far the preferable way to do this activity. The statement strategy, it's a strategic reading strategy for declarative knowledge. It's designed for the introduction of new content or specific rehearsal. So if you know that your student needs to go back and specifically dig deeper into something that they've not understood, use a statement strategy because it will make them focus on specifics that they're not sure of. Again, there's your understanding, your levels of understanding. What are you developing? And then here we've got the elements that are required for the statement strategy. You've got to have these elements. The SQ4R strategy, again for strategic reading, declarative knowledge, designed for the introduction of new content or rehearsal for deeper understanding. Especially with some of the rehearsal work, when kids have got a fuzzy sort of vague idea, but they really need to get to grips with the content, the knowledge. I really highly recommend this strategy for everything, as a beginner, as a beginning point. And those are the elements you've got to have for the SQ4R strategy. Interpersonal strategy, we've only done the jigsaw strategy, which is effective if you'll use your breakout rooms on Zoom. Again, what it's designed for, the higher achievement goals, academic literacy skills, and then the elements you require for the jigsaw strategy. I'd recommend you combine it with SQ4R or the statement strategy. So after they know their work, then they come along and they do the jigsaw strategy. I've also included an interpersonal troubleshooting guide. So signs of trouble, what to do, what to try in terms of learning to work collaboratively. The Sherlock strategy for declarative knowledge. Love this. Inductive reasoning. It ticks so many blocks in terms of mental development. Understanding by design. Look at those, interpretation and explanation, how high they are. And then those are the elements you must have for the Sherlock strategy, inductive reasoning. And these are the mental operations, the 6 mental operations that it includes. So it's really a brilliant, brilliant strategy to use. Okay, end of part 1. Thank you.